Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, Pete. Welcome back.
Hi, Ethan.
How are you?
I am very excellent. How are you?
I'm excellent also, and I'm excited about what we have to discuss today because it's something that caught both you and me by surprise, and it's really not often that something like that happens, right?
It's not, but considering where it comes from, actually shouldn't be so surprising.
Okay. So, what did we just watch?
So we both just watched The Adam Project on Netflix.
On Netflix. It says it was released on March 11th, and I think we saw it like almost the same day that it was released, right?
That's exactly right. And this is what I think I alluded to this in one of the previous episodes we spoke about. But what I really like about Netflix is that they are now very unsuspectingly or very surprisingly, they're happy to drop these A-list starred projects on the public with very little notice, right?
I saw a trailer
for Adam Notice maybe a month ago, but I didn't think much of it. I was just like, okay, it's another movie, fine. It'll probably come out in 6 to 10 months. We'll see more hype about it when it comes out. And then, bam, all of a sudden, it's out on Friday. And I said, oh, okay, well, let me call up Ethan. Let's watch this. Let's talk about
it. So can I just put something in perspective before we get into our ratings, which is I just have two observations. The first observation is that I'm very surprised. Like, I was not surprised to see Ryan Reynolds because I know that he's got like some type of Netflix contract. I was surprised to see Mark Ruffalo in this. I was surprised to see Zoe Saldana in this because that seems to be all now Marvel characters, right?
Yes. I think this strikes more of a coincidence also because both DC and Marvel have kind of made so many movies at this point. You've still only got a limited number of actors, right? So it's inevitable that there will be movies where all of a sudden they're all like Marvel co-stars or DC co-stars or even crossover co-stars.
Yeah. I was just a little bit surprised because they're all from the same universe. So I thought maybe, firstly, scheduling, I thought it'd be very difficult. And secondly, I just thought that, I mean, Ryan Reynolds, I know that he does his Netflix stuff. I didn't think of the other two. But let me get to my second observation, which will lead into my recommendation or my evaluation. This is a very, very small cast. And Netflix, I think, because they generate so much content, I feel that they try to always do more with less, where they have a few very big names, but then the cast is usually pretty limited. They don't have these big, long cast rosters. They try to film in a little bit of a more cost-effective way. So with that as kind of background, I was kind of expecting this to be a little bit rubbish. And I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised, and I thought this was a very good show, or a very good movie.
Much deeper than I expected.
Much deeper than I expected.
Yeah. So you raise a good point. Let's do a very quick, before we get into our spoiler alert territory.
Yeah.
How would you rate The Adam Project?
I would say this is not, so first of all, this is on Netflix, but it's a film. So it puts our rating system in a little bit of a bind. But I would say if this is a cinematic release, I would not rush to the cinema to watch this. I would absolutely recommend watching it as soon as it came out on streaming. If you're considering this just as a Netflix show, I would say this alone does not justify paying for Netflix, but absolutely you should mooch and watch it with a friend who does have Netflix.
I am fully aligned with you. I think that were this a cinematic release, I'm not saying it would do poorly, but I think that it wouldn't be like a mega blockbuster. I don't think that this is one of those movies that would make $100 million in a weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that, as you rightly pointed out, this being a Netflix show, I would say, hey, Ethan, you've got Netflix. This movie's come out. You mind if I come over and watch it? I want to mooch your password to do it.
Yeah. I would say the same thing. It's like, hey, I've heard this is really good. Can I come over? Right? It wouldn't just be like I'd like to borrow it sometime when I get to it. I'd say more actively like, hey, can I come over and watch this, or can I borrow it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What this movie does, interesting to me, is that it's kind of a sci-fi movie. Well, the intro is definitely a sci-fi intro.
Oh yeah, totally.
But it's not a sci-fi movie. It's almost a family drama. And I thought that, for a movie that has sci-fi elements, they're absolutely not so bad. Sometimes you see sci-fi with really, really bad effects or devices or gizmos, and I have to say, I wasn't at all upset with the aircraft, the weapons, or kind of the technology that was portrayed in this movie. I thought it was actually pretty decently done. And on the personal side, I thought that the on-screen chemistry between Ryan Reynolds, Big Adam, and the young Adam, I thought was like out of this world. Maybe some of the best acting work, that Ryan Reynolds has done in quite some time, huh?
Yeah, I think actually in terms of chemistry, I think everybody had really good chemistry.
Yeah.
Like Jennifer Garner had good chemistry with young Adam.
Yeah.
Right? And in that brief moment, you see Jennifer Garner with Ryan Reynolds in the bar.
Yeah.
You see some relatively good chemistry that way, and you see real remorse in Ryan Reynolds that I was such a jackass to my mom.
Yes.
And I would do anything I could to take that back.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see that with Mark Ruffalo. And of course, it's a very cheesy thing, but you see that with Mark Ruffalo playing ball with his kid.
Yes.
Young and Big Adam in the backyard at the end of the movie.
That's a very good scene. I mean, that's a tear-jerking, very good scene. Yeah.
Cheesy, and, I'm not saying it was manufactured or designed or engineered to make you want to cry or not cry or evoke some kind of emotion, but it felt natural given the progression, and like it was alluded to in the earlier scenes where, young Adam is chastising Big Adam. You can't hate Dad. He did everything he could for you. And he did things for you because he loved you, not because he was trying to buy your affection or to get away from you or, distract you. I thought it was done well. And in terms of the FX, in terms of the things, I thought they were done incredibly well. Loved the ship designs.
Oh, yeah.
Loved the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a lightsaber, but, obviously was a lightsaber. And in terms of the bad guys, menacing, but not menacing, like to the point of cheesiness where they were over the top. Yeah. So I think it could have, like Catherine Keener, I really like her.
I love her.
There's a little bit of dissonance watching her as a bad guy, but having said that, she didn't ham it up in any way, shape, or form. She wasn't like, those mustache twirling, stereotypical bad guys who's like, ha. So whatever she did, it was believable, or maybe not believable, but at least appropriate for the role.
Oh, yeah.
And I like that, and you can tell that this is a movie that's also kind of geared for kids because, obviously child actor starring in it, and blood isn't blood. So like when people died in this, they went off and faded into a red mist. But it didn't allude to anything gory. It was quite family friendly that way.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. That's such a good point.
Right, so it's
good observation.
You can tell that it's done with the intent of saying, "Hey, this is a straight to DVD / home release movie. We want this to be something that you can sit with your mom and dad and watch, and we want, it's like a family friendly thing."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nice acting. Nice length as well. It wasn't too long. It was. I think it hit all the right notes, and I think this is what Netflix in general. This is their sweet spot.
This is their sweet spot.
Let's get one or two big actors. Let's get some other big names that can be in like cameo-esque roles. Because, Jennifer Garner, great big actor, but she's in the movie for all of maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, man. I mean, she's a mom now. I mean, there's a progression, right? But I mean, she's a mom now. I'd like to see her as a bad guy, sometime. Catherine Keener played that foil pretty well. I'd like to see Jennifer Garner in a role like that where she's a bad guy. I think she can do more than just be a mom.
Right. But, again, so this is like a movie where you see everyone. Mark Ruffalo, big name actor. Zoe Saldana, big name actor. But again, they're not. The movie isn't about them. And so they're not forced into it. So in the sense that they're, the 15 minutes that Zoe Saldana is in the movie, impactful, and they don't they don't shoehorn her into any other thing, right?
Yeah.
And the same goes for Mark Ruffalo's character. Each actor plays a role, plays it perfectly, and then they kind of move on because I think everyone realizes, hey, this movie is about Ryan Reynolds. This is about the kid that is Ryan Reynolds as a child, right? That's it.
I really thought it was some of Ryan Reynolds' finest work. Compared to Red Notice, I felt I thought he was a lot funnier. I thought he was quite a bit funnier than he was in Red Notice. What do you think?
I don't know if he was funnier, but I think he was more genuine in this movie. I think Red Notice was a little bit more forced in its comedy and its sarcastic quips. Like, it was a bit more quippy. Which some people will like. I think in this one, it's a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more realistic, or at least a little bit more. I don't know.
So Ryan Reynolds he's intended to be. He's not a bad guy, right? He's definitely mischievous, which is kind of what we've seen here, right? He stole a ship, but he didn't really steal it. But he's using it for a good thing. He's definitely mischievous. Whereas I felt in Red Notice, he was kind of a thief. And that's not, I feel like, his role. I think he's more mischievous. He should be the good guy who's a little bit more likable. He's not supposed to be a criminal on the run, So I think it's a little bit how he was portrayed.
Yeah, I think that comes down to having a little bit of dissonance in seeing someone like Ryan Reynolds play like, if you look at it on paper, he's an art thief, and art thieves are supposed to be bad guys, right?
Yeah.
That's and unlike someone like Zoe Kravitz or Anne Hathaway who play Catwoman, right?
Yeah.
They're bad guys, but you kind of like them because you don't mind them in that role.
Right.
Right? And they're not traditional bad guys, which is to say they're actually counterfoils to Batman, and they're kind of like almost like his parallel so they're like anti-heroes more, right? And so the thing is, Ryan Reynolds did not come off as a good anti-hero in Red Notice, and here he kind of comes off as a pretty good anti-hero, which is to say, hey, I'm not doing this for the greater good. Yeah. I'm in it purely to save my wife, and that's it. And because it's me as a youngster, I can, kind of kick him around verbally and tell him, hey, you're a jerk. And I'm allowed to tell you that because I'm you.
Do you know what I want one of our listeners to do? I want them to give me an example of an actor who's played a really villainous villain, a real bad guy. And then in another movie or show, they came back and they were a good guy. I think that it's so difficult to play an iconic bad guy and kind of like have that, like in just change everyone's perception of you, right?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough because there are some actors who are just known for being the bad guy, right? And not in a bad way. I mean, they're just so good. We love them, right? But when you think of Alan Rickman,
oh yeah,
come on,
I know him.
Come on,
yeah, I know him.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know the name, but I know the face.
right? He's a great actor.
Yep.
Unbelievable actor. But like when he comes off as a villain, man, that's a sight to behold. So when you see someone like Alan Rickman come off also as a good guy, it's hard to take him away from some of his most seminal roles, right? Yeah. Like he was an excellent Snape where he comes out as a bad guy in Harry Potter.
So I mean, he's for me, he's best known as Hans Gruber in Die Hard, right?
Exactly.
That's his real
the best. Quite possibly one of, and maybe we should do this as an episode.
Oh, we absolutely should do this.
One of the best villains ever on screen.
Yes. Please, let's put a marker here. Let's remind ourselves we absolutely need to do a villains episode. Yeah. He is a tremendous Hans Gruber. Absolutely. Okay, back to Ryan Reynolds, back to the Adam Project.
Yeah. Where were we? Yeah, so he's an anti-hero in the sense that he's a bit of a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the growth of his character, which is interesting because he needs his younger self to tell him to not be such a jerk, not just in the future, but then the older self also tells his younger self to not be such a jerk to his mom. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like both of them are using each other at their different stages in life to kind of get over whatever trauma it is. And of course, it's not a small trauma. Both of them lost their father, right? Yep. But they're taking it out in the wrong possible way. The older Adam is taking it out on his actual father when they go back in time. The younger Adam is taking it out on their mother. It's, it's a small thing, but it's nice to see that you see character progression throughout the course of the movie for that.
I agree. So let me point something out, and then I'm going to make the hottest of hot takes.
All right, let's do it.
I think that it's really interesting when they went back in time that Mark Ruffalo was arguing against, doing anything that would kind of, disrupt the future continuum, and he was essentially saying, stay hands off. What's done is done. You can't really change the future. It's going to happen one way or another. And he was a professor essentially playing the role of Doc Brown in Back to the Future, right? Telling Marty, Michael J. Fox, don't tell me what happens in the future. I don't want to know. Remember, he iconically rips up the letter and throws it all over the ground saying, you can't tell me what happens. I can't know. And my hot take is that Back to the Future is the most consequential movie ever, or at least with respect to time travel, that there's so many themes that have come out of Back to the Future, and any movie that has time travel or future and past selves meeting each other, all is somehow the brainchild of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
40 years, what is it? 35 years later, right? That movie is still responsible for a lot of these plots, or still inspired a lot of these plots.
While certainly not the first time travel movie,
maybe not.
I would say, and I'm really racking my brain, but I'm sure there must have been some time travel movies that predated Back to the Future.
I would agree with you. It seems impossible that there's not, but certainly I cannot think of
but let's put it this way. I think that, or let's put it this way. Back to the Future was so iconic in that genre, and has and as you rightly said, has been so consequential in that genre that you tend to, at least my mind has tended to ignore everything else.
Yeah, and it talks about, anything where someone goes back and alters history, and there's like a new splinter, right, with these potentially unforeseen consequences, I think is always a Back to the Future type thing. Maybe not the idea of time travel or the time machine, but just in terms of like altering. I think that all comes down to Back to the Future. And I just think that's such an iconic movie that even to this day, all these plots are kind of like based on or inspired by Back to the Future. And there's another point, and you mentioned it. You said the scene in the bar between Jennifer Garner, right, mother of Adam, and Ryan Reynolds. I was getting huge flashbacks to, Marty and his teenage mom in Back to the Future. And I was wondering,
God, yeah.
Were you getting the same thing?
I was hoping in the back of my mind that wasn't going to be a plot point.
The same thing, but it was, for me, extremely awkward. And I was really hoping that Jennifer Gardner wasn't going to ask out Ryan, and Ryan was going to say something kind of like, funny in response or something like that. But that's exactly where my mind went. And again, because and we have to say this, that Back to the Future movie would not have been made today just because that was super creepy. But it was also a little bit iconic in terms of showing, the potential disasters that can happen if you go back to the past and you potentially meet, your future parent or your future parents, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't add that, because I think that
it's too much.
The movie
it would have been too much.
It's too much, and it would have been an unnecessary plot.
Yeah.
Right? It would have been an unnecessary plot contrivance to also have this angle of will they, won't they, between mother and son.
Yeah.
Totally uncalled for, totally unnecessary. Especially because
uncalled for.
It's just you have there's enough already. You've come back in time to save your wife, and then you get persuaded, or you start flirting with your mom. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird. It's too weird.
I think what we can say best about this movie is that there's a lot of plot holes that we could probably come up with. But again, I think because this doesn't position itself as a sci-fi movie, we're willing to kind of overlook those. Whereas when we had Red Notice, you and I were really critical about all the holes in the plot because it was a heist movie. And we said it wasn't a comedy. It was, maybe it should have been a comedy, but it wasn't a comedy to us. It was a heist movie. And therefore we focused on the problems with a heist. Whereas this movie, to be honest, we could probably think of a lot of problems on the sci-fi side of this, but I think
there was only one that really stuck out to me. But yes, I agree.
Tell me what it was.
It's that moment at the end where they're at the reactor.
Oh yeah.
The bullet gets pulled away by gravity, but the gun doesn't.
Yeah,
how does that work? And they didn't even lampshade it. They didn't even give you some kind of simple excuse, like it's a ceramic gun or something.
Yes.
A simple line could have deleted the entire thing. But that's what stuck out to me. You go through the effort of showing that buttons are popping off, that people and other guns are going flying off. All these people, but Catherine Keener's gun for some reason is impervious, but the bullet isn't.
I completely agree. You're absolutely right. I thought that whole scene, to be honest, was probably my least favorite part of the movie. And I also thought at the beginning, to be honest, with the shooting at his plane, and then he didn't double check the coordinates, and the plane was kind of damaged with his DNA. I thought all these kind of sci-fi elements, to be honest, weren't great. But again, it was meant to be.
Ignore them.
Exactly. I think it's easier to choose to ignore them because we're saying, hey, this isn't a sci-fi movie. Let's not get caught up in the sci-fi. The sci-fi is only a vehicle for delivering a drama, right? Or a comedy drama, whatever that's called. So I mean, I think it was easier for us to be a little bit forgiving about those parts, because we're saying, hey, let's not focus on the ship. The ship's not the point, right? It's not supposed to be about the ship. We're not supposed to talk about, why wasn't he wearing a helmet in the ship? Does he need like oxygen? Like, what was he wearing? And so on and so forth. And making sure the years matched up and all these other things about technology. It really wasn't about that. Or how there's two ships flying all over the world or America, wherever this is. And there's like no radar. Like, what's the deal, right? Again, they didn't say like, well, we've got these cloaking devices or whatever the issue is, right?
Yeah, look, I think in the sense that it's I would say I would go far enough to say that it is a sci-fi movie, but a subset of the sci-fi movie, which is that it's a time travel movie, right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a movie that's specifically talking about time travel, you're not super worried about the tech, because the tech is just there to get you from point B to A.
Yes.
Instead of, right? Because you're moving backwards.
Yeah, absolutely
which is to say, hey, you don't need to worry about how I got here. Just worry that I'm here. Now let's talk about the consequences, and let's do the actions that I came here to do and the consequences of such things, right?
Yeah.
So I also, a little bit of, I think they explained it away. I don't remember, but like I remember I found that Ryan Reynolds was being a little hypocritical to say, hey, I've come back in time to save my wife, but he wouldn't go back in time to save the father. You avoid that situation because then the father says, hey, look, I'm not here to be saved. Right?
Yeah.
I want you to.
It's a pretty good point. Yeah.
Right? And then Mark Ruffalo does a very good job where he's like, look, for the greater good, you cannot change my path, my future.
Yeah.
Right? Which you pointed out as well, which I think is a little bit naive because they didn't explain what the consequences of changing the past are. Because, and then at the end anyway, to go around and change the past grossly, right? They blow up the time reactor. They kill Catherine Keener's character. So you've already changed the future.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
what
I
is
agree.
the thing about not wanting to save the father, right?
Yeah,
and that comes down to I think them just saying, "Listen, we don't have Mark Ruffalo for the full 90 days.
Yes,
we have him for 35 days, or we have him for 10 weeks, or 10 minutes. That's all the time we have to film with him. Yeah. So let's knock out the things we can, and then in the script we can make it up."
I agree. I mean, I think even when we talk about like Zoe Saldana, right? Adam's wife, how she went disappearing and why it was 2018 and why she was just kind of waiting for a few years. Like, to be honest, I didn't really dive deep into that. I'm sure we could probably find a few plot holes, but again, the point we keep coming back to is that I think it really matters how you position your movie. And Red Notice, it was a heist movie. We were critical of the holes in the heist movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Here it's a drama or a comedy, and I think we're a little bit more forgiving about it. But I thought that kid who played young Adam was exceptional. Yeah. I thought he really, really was a good. Like, it can't be easy to be that young and be playing apart from across from Ryan Reynolds and be like kind of equally as sarcastic and funny as he is, right?
Yeah,
but I thought he did that very well.
Kid could grow up to be like Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yeah.
The maybe the visual things weren't there so much. Like, you don't see so much of him in Ryan Reynolds as a kid, but you definitely do in personality.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was kind of funny about, wow, like, I'm going to grow up to have muscles and stuff. Like, that's so cool, kind of like a kid type perspective,
Exactly.
So well done to Netflix on this, huh? I mean, it was a surprise. I mean, it came again. You just, I think, told me one day, like, hey, check out the Adam Project. And like 24 hours later, we'd both watched it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is where Netflix, this is Netflix's wheelhouse, right?
Yeah. This is
where
their sweet spot.
They can say, hey, I'm going to give you, Ryan Reynolds, $50 million or $100 million. This is maybe not even that much, maybe $50 million.
Yeah.
We're going to pay the cast out of that $50 million. We're going to pay the cast $10, $15 million. But this is not your typical 90-day or 120-day shoot. This is probably done in the course of 30 days. The visual effects are going to be pretty good, but they're not going to be like the best thing you've ever seen on cinema. And it's a good paycheck for everyone involved. It's a short and sweet story, and it's exactly the kind of content we want for our platform. Right? And I think that's exactly right. You're not spending $150 million making this movie. You're not spending another $150 million on top of that marketing this movie. As far as I know, or at least as far as I was aware, marketing wasn't enough that it hit me. I saw a trailer again a month ago, and that's almost all I had heard of it. So it's kind of like a stealth release, which for me is perfect. I think that's great because it's a nice surprise, right? You wake up on a Friday morning, you're ready for the weekend, and then in the afternoon, you're just checking out the queue on Netflix, and then all of a sudden you get a little notice that says, by the way, a new movie starring Ryan Reynolds, who's very much an A-list star at this point, is out. Would you be interested in seeing it? Of course you are.
I think there's also something about, the expectations as well, right? How long were we waiting for Batman? Okay, Mission Impossible, Top Gun 2. You're waiting so long for these things that the expectations just keep building and building and building. The same thing when something you just mentioned, you wake up, it's in your queue, you give it a try, you can't help but to be like a little bit pleasantly surprised just because you haven't had like all this fanfare, basically shoved down your throat for like the last few weeks that you're expecting it to be amazing almost by vindication. You're like so angry at Netflix for shoving it at you that it's got to be good. Here, you've got no expectations.
Marketing's a double-edged sword that way, right? And so is that media hype, which is to say they could have spent millions of dollars hyping this movie up, but then at the end of it, if it didn't live up to all that hype, you're just like, well, that's another Netflix bomb, so I'm just not interested. So
totally agree.
Again, kudos to Netflix. It is very much, if you have Netflix, you should definitely watch it. If you don't have Netflix, watch it with someone who does. It's not worthy insofar as you need to you need to subscribe to Netflix for it, but you won't be disappointed with it.
What is your favorite Ryan Reynolds? I'm going to exclude Deadpool. Excluding Deadpool, what's your favorite Ryan Reynolds movie? Or show? Can I put my lukewarm take and you tell me if you like it? I thought Free Guy was so funny and totally caught me off guard. I thought the trailer was going to make that movie miserable. I had almost zero expectations for that movie. I think I watched it out of like just desperation or maybe even by accident.
Yeah, I remember. Didn't you watch it on a flight?
Yeah, I thought Free Guy, I think I actually like downloaded it like at the airport before I boarded, just like out of desperation. It was like the fastest thing I could find and can download. I thought it was incredible. Really, really funny. Right. I mean, the plot's, of course, berserk, but he's trapped in a video game, right? But in terms of a comedy, I thought it was extremely funny. So I thought that was some of his best work there. Deadpool is a different category, of course. It's action, it's
superhero genre. So
it's a little bit more vulgar as well, right?
I liked him actually when he was, I think one of the first TV shows he had done, and the first things where I started to really recognize him was in Two Guys and a Pizza Place.
Yep.
Set in, I think, Boston years ago. So that's when that's when you saw his comedic chops.
Yeah.
But in terms of what my favorite role is, my semi-hot take is that there are very few roles or movies of his which I think are awesome movies overall. I think he's very good in many roles.
Do you remember him in Safe House? Do you remember him in Safe House?
I do
with
not
Denzel.
remember him in Safe House. No.
Oh, Safe House. So right after Green Lantern's 2011. In 2012, he was in something called Safe House. Can I give you a brief synopsis? Tell me if this jogs your memory. He is a CIA agent in somewhere in South America. And he's like fresh out of university, and his job is basically it's a safe house. It's just like a front, right? And his job is just to like every day open it up, make sure that there's plenty of extra blood stocked in the refrigerator, that all the cameras are working, and he sits there day after day after day. He has nothing to do, right? Okay. One day he gets a phone call. Hey, agent number. We're going to be there. We're en route. We're going to be there 5 minutes. We've got a Class A target, right? Mm-hmm. They come in. They've got Denzel Washington, who's on the extreme wanted list. They start interrogating him. While they're interrogating him, some group comes in to get Denzel. Firefight ensues, and Ryan Reynolds has to get out of there. He's the only one who survives. He takes Denzel, and then those two are blah, trying to survive and figure out the crime and so forth. That was, I think, the first time I really remember him in kind of an action-y role. But that's a very good movie. That's a very watchable movie. Denzel and Ryan Reynolds, Safe House, if you want to go back and watch that. Add that to the queue.
So the first movie I remember of him being as a potential non-comedic but like action star is probably in Blade.
Oh, yeah.
So in the third Blade movie, this came out, I don't know, maybe more than 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
So that's when I saw him. Because, you see, like, they went out of his way to show him as, like, a super jacked, super cut guy. And he plays not just, a little bit of a sarcastic, smart ass, wise ass, but he's also, like, really a capable fighter. I think that was the first time I really saw him as something beyond comedy. Or as an actor that could do non-comedic roles. But that was really it. Again, no disrespect to Ryan Reynolds. I love him. I think he's probably one of the better and funnier and most sarcastic actors we've got out there. But I don't think of his movies as like anything super phenomenal or super fantastic,
Is he the best Canadian actor?
I don't know.
Oh.
Here's the problem with Canadian actors.
We don't know who they are.
They're so stealth that you don't know who they are, right? Like you automatically think of Jim Carrey. You can think of Dan Aykroyd. You can think of Rick Moranis.
Well, they're all comedians.
That's the thing.
What about the guy who played Uncle Joey on Full House? What's his name? Whoever played Uncle Joey on Full House.
Oh my God! Canadian. Why is that blanking? I can picture his face.
Dave Coulier.
Is he Canadian?
He's Canadian.
Well, there you go.
So all the Canadians are comedians. You never think of Canada as like a ha-ha funny country, though, do you?
But I think that's precisely why they're funny guys.
So we may think, someone tell us otherwise, Ryan Reynolds is the best non-comedic Canadian actor. Unless someone tells us otherwise, or gives us another candidate. I think it's him.
Indeed. Anyway, so that's our take on...
That's our take on the Adam Project.
Right, the third major Netflix project starring Ryan Reynolds. I'm sure there's going to be at least one more, if not many more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Probably. I don't think this deserves a sequel. It probably could, to be honest. I think there's plenty of material here if they wanted to make a sequel. I don't think it needs a sequel, and I don't know if that's really where Netflix is going on it, but it could be.
I look back to the Future, and the sequels
progressively worse.
Not just progressively worse. Progressively worse to the point where you're just like, I don't know if I want this franchise anymore.
I mean, I think Back to the Future 2 is defendable, and in some ways it was pretty solid. In some ways it was miserable, but there were at least redeeming qualities in Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 3, which is the one made in the Wild West,
irredeemable in my opinion.
Pretty miserable, unfortunately, which is too bad, because I think Michael J. Fox and Dr. Emmett Brown were just such iconic characters. It was really kind of sad to see them in that state.
Yeah, but again, that's Hollywood for you.
That's
if
Hollywood.
It makes
for you.
money. Let's beat a dead horse until it stops making us money.
Although I have to say, like, it was kind of innovative. Remember how they powered the DeLorean? They had the steam engine, right?
On the train, yeah. They had it being pushed by a train into a gulch with different colored fire logs that would tell you, like, when to hit it.
Yep. That's such a good memory about the different colored fire logs. You're right. They had, like, the red, the green, the orange, like...
And then they tried to one-up the ending of the first Back to the Future, where the car goes flying into space. Then you have an entire locomotive that goes flying into space. and into time. You know what I mean? It's just
man. The first
again,
one
the
was
signs
just
of-
the
of
first one
Hollywood
was
excess.
the first one was just so iconic. I don't even know if they could ever recreate that. There's so many remakes, and I just think, I mean, there's so many elements of that were just kind of weird. You know, the relationship between him and his mom, obviously in high school, you know, his dad and the bullying and things like that. I don't know if they could actually remake that movie today, but the original really caught lightning in a bottle. And I think that's just iconic for so many reasons. And I think it's one of those things I understand that they teach in film school that doesn't follow like, I think it's one of the only examples of a movie that doesn't follow like a specific story arc, you know?
Right.
So that is the Adam Project.
Must watch if you have Netflix. Please do yourselves a favor. You'll enjoy yourself.
You'll enjoy yourself. Okay. That's all the time we've got today. Right, Pete? Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.